The ruins of Arctanus stretched across the dead moon like the skeleton of some massive beast. Silver structures twisted toward the stars, defying the moon's weak gravity even after 10,000 years. At their center stood the Temple of Ascendance, a spiraling monument of ancient technology that pulsed with faint blue light, visible even from orbit. And in its heart stood Valoria. She hadn't moved for 17 hours. Such stillness was nothing to a Sephiran warrior, especially one who had stood guard for over 3 centuries. Her iridescent scaled skin shimmered under the temple's eternal light, 4 arms perfectly positioned, 2 holding ceremonial blades, 2 folded in the ritual stance of guardianship. The 6 gill-like sensory organs along her neck flared slightly, detecting a change in atmospheric pressure. Someone had entered the temple's outer ring. "Another one comes," she whispered to the void blade floating in stasis before her. The legendary weapon, a curved blade of impossible darkness that seemed to swallow light itself, pulsed once in response. "Perhaps this one will die with more dignity than the last." In 300 years, thousands had attempted the trials to claim the galaxy's most feared weapon. Imperial generals, crime lords, self-proclaimed prophets, all had failed. Most had died. The Void Blade chose its master, and it had rejected everyone since the fall of the Arctanian civilization. Valoria was its guardian, not its wielder. That was her oath, sworn when her people discovered the ruins and recognized the danger of the blade falling to unworthy hands. One Sephiran, chosen from birth, trained for decades, then stationed here for eternity. This was the price of protection. A lifetime of solitude, broken only by would-be conquerors she was destined to defeat. The temple's inner door slid open with a whisper of ancient mechanics. Valoria didn't turn. Her posterior eyes, small golden orbs at the back of her elongated head, tracked the intruder's movement. A human. Alone. Unarmored. "That's far enough," she announced, her voice echoing through the chamber. "State your purpose or leave. I seek knowledge, not conquest." The human's voice was calm, measured. Now Valoria turned. Most species appeared fragile to Sephiran eyes, but humans especially so. Soft-skinned, limited senses, only 2 arms. This one was tall for his kind, with skin the color of the gas giant that loomed in the temple's skylight. His eyes reminded her of Sephiran emerald pools. "I am Elias Forrester," he continued, making no move toward weapons. "Scholar from Earth Colony Tau 9. I've studied the Arctanians for 15 years. "You've wasted your time," Valoria replied. "The trials kill all who attempt them. The knowledge dies with the seeker." Elias smiled, a disarming expression. "I didn't say I came for the blade." This was different. Valoria's head tilted slightly. "All who enter seek the Void Blade. I seek understanding of why it was created, the history, not the weapon itself." He gestured to the inscriptions covering the chamber walls. "These texts describe a civilization that achieved interstellar travel 10,000 years before any other in this sector. Their technology was unmatched, yet they vanished overnight." Despite herself, Valoria was intrigued. "What do you know of Sephirans?" "That you're honorable to a fault, that once sworn a Sephiran oath is unbreakable." His eyes met hers directly, another rarity. "And that you've stood guard here longer than any human lifespan." 327 cycles, she confirmed. "You show unusual respect for a human." "The universe is vast. Arrogance serves no one." Elias stepped forward, hands open. "May I examine the inscriptions?" "I promise not to approach the blade." Valoria should have refused. Protocol demanded it. Yet something in this human's manner, genuine curiosity without greed, swayed her. "You may study the outer ring texts only. At the first step toward the blade, you die." Understood. Elias bowed slightly, then moved to the nearest wall, removing a small device to capture images of the inscriptions. Valoria watched him work, noting his methodical approach, his reverence for the ancient knowledge. Hours passed as he circled the chamber, occasionally murmuring insights to himself. For the first time in centuries, she found herself curious about an outsider.
The temple's warning systems activated with a shriek that pierced Valoria's sensitive auditory membranes. Ancient machinery hummed to life around them as the floor beneath Elias began to glow with intricate patterns. "What have you done?" Valoria hissed, all four hands gripping her weapons as she moved to defensive position. "Nothing." Elias backed away from the wall where he'd been studying inscriptions. "I only translated this section about the blade's purpose." "Get back," she commanded, but it was too late. The floor split open beneath him, and before either could react, Elias plummeted into darkness. The opening sealed instantly, leaving Valoria alone with the floating void blade. "No," she whispered. In 3 centuries, she had never seen this chamber activation sequence. This was not part of any challenge she knew. The void blade pulsed, stronger than she had ever witnessed. Its obsidian surface rippled like liquid, responding to something deep below. For 6 agonizing hours, Valoria stood guard, muscles tense, mind racing. The blade's pulsing grew more intense with each passing moment. When the floor finally reopened, she was prepared to face whatever horror the temple had created. Instead, Elias emerged changed. His eyes held the same faint luminescence as the blade, and across his skin, intricate patterns glowed and faded like constellations. He looked simultaneously exhausted and exhilarated. "The trials," he gasped. "They weren't tests of combat. They were tests of understanding." Before Valoria could respond, the unthinkable happened. The void blade shuddered in its stasis field, then shot across the chamber, directly into Elias's outstretched hand. The weapon that had rejected emperors and warlords for millennia settled into his grip as naturally as if it had been made for him. The blade's legendary darkness seemed to flow up his arm, merging with the patterns on his skin before fading. "Impossible," Valoria breathed, dropping to one knee in shock. "The blade chooses." "I saw its creation," Elias said softly. "In the trials, the Arctanians didn't forge it as a weapon of destruction. It was meant to preserve knowledge, to connect civilizations. The darkness isn't emptiness. It's everything, compressed." Valoria's oath burned within her mind. Protect the blade. Protect its wielder. For 3 centuries, these had been one duty. Now they were 2, and the second bound her to this human. "We must leave," she said, rising to her feet. "Once word spreads that the blade has chosen, every power in the galaxy will hunt you." "Us," Elias corrected, studying her with new awareness. "Your oath binds you to the blade, and now to me." Valoria's outer gill membranes flushed deep blue, the Sephiran sign of acknowledgement. "My life for the blade. My life for its wielder." The ancient words felt strange after centuries of reciting them only to herself. Within hours, they departed the temple in Elias's small research vessel. As they broke orbit, Valoria watched the ruins of Arctanes recede. For the first time in 3 centuries, she was leaving her post, but not abandoning her duty. "The nearest safe port is Carax's station," she said, settling uncomfortably into the co-pilot seat, her larger frame not designed for human furnishings. "We can resupply and acquire a more suitable vessel." Elias nodded, then unexpectedly reached across to touch her arm, the gesture of a comrade, not a master to servant. "Thank you, Valoria. I understand what this means for you." She pulled away, unsettled by the casual contact. "I follow my oath, nothing more." "Of course." He turned his attention to the controls, but not before she caught his smile. As they entered hyperspace, Valoria found herself studying him. This human who had done what none could do. This scholar who now carried the galaxy's deadliest weapon within his very being. The blade had chosen, and now, so had her fate. "Behind you," Valoria roared, her voice carrying over the chaos of the marketplace. Elias pivoted instantly, the void blade materializing from his forearm in a swirl of darkness. It sliced through the mercenary's blaster, then retracted just as quickly. Valoria dispatched 2 more attackers with brutal efficiency, her forearms working in perfect harmony as she drove them back. 3 weeks since leaving Arctanes, and this was the 4th assassination attempt. Word had spread faster than they'd anticipated. "Time to go." Elias called, grabbing supplies from their fallen foes. They raced through Caraxes Station's twisted corridors, the space station's artificial gravity fluctuating as they passed damaged sectors. Once aboard their new ship, a refitted Sephiran scout vessel Valoria had acquired through her people's network, they launched with minimal clearance, scraping the docking bay doors. That was too close, Elias said once they'd cleared the station's security zone. They're getting better at tracking us. Valoria's gill membranes fluttered in agitation. The Novari Collective. Their insignia was on the leader's collar. Arms dealers, Elias nodded. Makes sense they'd want the galaxy's most powerful weapon. You are not a weapon, Valoria corrected automatically, then paused, surprised at her own vehemence. Elias looked up from the navigation console, studying her with those unsettling luminescent eyes. No, he agreed softly. Neither of us are. She turned away, focusing on securing their course. The ship hummed around them, its systems calibrated to Sephiran biology but adapting to Elias's presence. Like her, it was learning to serve two masters. Later, as they drifted in the shadow of a nebula, temporarily hidden from pursuing scanners, Valoria found Elias in the observation deck. The swirling gases outside painted his features in blues and purples. You should rest, she said. Your human physiology requires more recovery time. So should you, he countered. I've noticed you haven't slept since we left Arctanes. Sephirans can go weeks without full sleep cycles. That doesn't mean you should. He gestured to the space beside him, an invitation. Against her better judgment, Valoria settled onto the deck, her larger frame keeping a careful distance from his. For several minutes, they watched the nebulas dance in silence. How did you become the Guardian? Elias finally asked. Valoria's secondary eyes closed, a sign of remembering. I was chosen at birth. My genetic profile matched the requirements. I trained from the moment I could stand. Did you ever want something else? The question startled her. Want? Guardians did not want. They served. No, she said, too quickly. Elias didn't press. Instead, he extended his arm, summoning a small manifestation of the blade's power. In his palm, darkness swirled, then formed tiny replicas of the nebula's patterns. The blade shows me things, he said quietly. Knowledge from civilizations long gone. Technologies beyond our understanding. And, he hesitated, emotions. The last wielder's regrets. Their fears. Their hopes. Valoria watched the darkness dance between his fingers. The legends never mentioned this connection. Perhaps previous candidates never got far enough to discover it. His eyes met hers. It's changing me, Valoria. I can feel it. Integrating with my consciousness. Concern flashed through her. Is it painful? No. His smile was warm. But it's lonely. Even surrounded by all this knowledge, there's a solitude to it. I think you understand that better than anyone. Something shifted between them in that moment. Recognition of shared isolation. Before Valoria could respond, the ship's alarms blared. Imperial cruiser, she announced, springing to her feet. Battle stations. As they raced to the bridge, Elias caught her upper arm. Whatever happens, I'm glad the blade brought us together. Valoria did not acknowledge the sentiment. But as they prepared to fight once more, she positioned herself closer to him than duty strictly required. Blood seeped between Valoria's fingers as she desperately tried to stem the flow from Elias's wound. The Imperial ambush had been precisely calculated, not to kill him, but to capture, to take the blade. Instead, Elias had thrown himself in front of an energy blast meant for her. Stay conscious, she ordered, her voice rougher than intended. The regeneration chamber is prepared. Their ship limped through hyperspace, damage reports flashing across every console. Valoria ignored them all, focused solely on keeping Elias alive. Had to protect you, he mumbled, eyes flickering with weakening luminescence. I am your guardian, she hissed. Not the reverse. His blood-flecked smile infuriated her. Even dying, this human defied expectations. The hidden sanctuary moon approached, a Sephiran outpost unknown to other species. Ancient healing technology awaited, their only hope given the severity of his injuries. Hours later, Valoria stood vigil beside the regeneration chamber. Elias floated in healing fluid, unconscious but stable. The blade's energy had retreated deep within him, conserving strength to repair his body from within. For 3 days she never left the chamber, sleeping only in short intervals, always within arm's reach of him. On the 4th day, his eyes opened. You're still here, he whispered through the chamber's communication system. Where else would I be? The question escaped before she could consider its implications. When he was strong enough to emerge from the chamber, Vealoria helped him to his quarters. His skin bore new markings where the blade's power had assisted his healing, intricate patterns that matched the temple inscriptions. "We should discuss what happened," he said as she turned to leave. "You were foolish," she replied sharply. "Risking yourself, or risking the blade. Is that what troubles you? The blade's safety?" Vealoria's gill membranes darkened, embarrassment, confusion. "My oath is to protect the blade and its wielder," he finished. "Not to care for either." The silence between them crackled with unspoken tension. "Yet you haven't left my side in days," he continued softly. "The medical logs show you barely slept." "Efficiency," she insisted. "Your recovery is paramount to our mission." Elias took a step closer. "What is our mission, Vealoria?" "Beyond survival." She had no answer. For centuries, her purpose had been clear: guard the blade until death. Now everything had shifted. "I don't know," she admitted. Elias's hand gently touched her lower arm, the warrior's touch among Sephiroths, reserved for those who had fought together. "Neither do I. But I'd like to find out. With you." That night, as the sanctuary moon's 3 suns set simultaneously, Vealoria meditated in the ancient groves. Emotions she had suppressed for centuries surfaced like air bubbles in deep water, sudden, insistent. When she returned to their quarters, she found Elias studying the blade's manifestations. Darkness flowed between his hands, forming and reforming. "It's showing me star maps," he explained without looking up. "Places the Arctanians visited. Worlds they helped evolve." Vealoria sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders nearly touched. "Show me." As the blade's knowledge unfolded between them, their hands met in the swirling darkness. Neither pulled away. The warlord's armada darkened the skies of Novus Prime, 300 warships arrayed in battle formation. On the planet's surface, refugees huddled in makeshift shelters. The world had refused to surrender its resources to the hegemony, and now would pay the price. Unless 2 unlikely saviors intervened. "This is madness," Vealoria said as their ship approached the blockade. "We cannot face an armada alone." Beside her at the controls, Elias looked calm, almost serene. The blade's markings across his skin pulsed with steady rhythm. "We're not alone. We have each other." 2 months since his injury, and everything had changed between them. Small touches, shared silences, and eventually, the night when ancient barriers had finally fallen, when warriors' honor gave way to something far more powerful. "Besides," he added with a smile that now never failed to warm her, "we have a plan." Their ship slipped through the blockade using Arctanian cloaking technology, knowledge gifted by the blade. They landed near the Planetary Defense Center, already under heavy bombardment. The defenders stared in awe as they entered, a human glowing with impossible power and a 4-armed Sephiran warrior whose reputation had spread across 17 systems. "Warlord Kraxus demands our surrender," the planetary governor explained. "His flagship carries a singularity cannon. One shot will crack this world to its core." "Then we target the flagship," Vealoria said, already strategizing. "Cut off the head." Elias nodded, then pressed his forehead to hers, the intimate gesture they now shared before battle. Together. Hours later, their stolen shuttle approached the massive flagship. The warlord, arrogant in his power, granted them audience, curious about the weapon he coveted. The Void Blade. Kraxus rumbled as they were escorted to his throne room, his massive reptilian form dominating the chamber. "Finally within my grasp." "You misunderstand," Elias replied calmly. "We're not here to surrender it. We're here to show you why you can never possess it." Before the guards could react, Elias and Vealoria moved as one. The blade manifested not just in his hand, but around both of them, darkness flowing between their bodies like living armor. Where their skin touched, the power intensified. What followed wasn't just combat, it was transformation. Every technique Vealoria had mastered in centuries of guardianship, amplified by Elias's connection to the blade's knowledge. They moved as one entity, devastating the warlord's elite forces. When they finally stood before Kraxus himself, the warlord cowered. "The blade doesn't grant power," Elias explained, the weapon humming between them. "It grants understanding. Something you lack entirely." "Why not kill me?" Kraxus hissed. Vealoria's 4 hands steadied the blade. "Because we're not what you are. Send your armada away. Never return." Later, as the liberated world celebrated below and the retreating armada fled to hyperspace. Elias and Valorius stood on their ship's observation deck. His arm wrapped around her waist, her head resting against his shoulder, positions that would have been unimaginable months ago. "The blade is changing," he said softly. "Evolving." "As are we," she replied. Her rigid posture of centuries had softened, though her warrior's strength remained undiminished. "Where shall we go now?" he asked. "The outer systems? The uncharted regions?" Valoria considered the question. For the first time in her life, duty alone did not dictate her path. Wherever there are those who need protection, those the powerful would crush. Elias smiled, turning to face her fully. His hand traced the contours of her face with reverence. "From Temple Guardian to Galactic Protector. Quite a promotion." "From solitary scholar to legendary wielder," she countered. "Quite a transformation." The blade's energy swirled around them both, no longer distinguishing between wielder and guardian. The ancient weapon had evolved beyond its creator's design, just as their bond had transcended its original purpose. As stars streaked past the viewport, Elias pulled her closer. "Do you ever regret it? Leaving your post?" Valoria's all four arms embraced him, her formidable strength now gentle. "I haven't left my post," she whispered against his ear. "I've simply found a new one. By your side." The void blade pulsed between them, no longer just a weapon or a repository of knowledge, but a symbol of two souls from distant worlds who had found, against all odds, a shared destiny among the stars.